In the year 2535, humanity stood on the brink of a new age. The stars were no longer a mystery to the people of Earth, and vast colonies spanned across distant planets. Yet one place remained a forbidden frontier, a region known as the Forbidden Sector. This part of space, located on the farthest edge of the galaxy, was untouched by any human exploration. No ships ever returned from there, and every attempt to chart the region had ended in failure. But all of that was about to change. Dr. Kayla Voss was among the brightest minds of her generation. She was a renowned xenoarchaeologist famous for her research into ancient alien civilizations. Her work had taken her across the galaxy, but the Forbidden Sector was a place she had never dared to explore. Until now. One day, Kayla received a mysterious message. It was a signal that had been intercepted by Earth's largest space observatory. It came from deep within the Forbidden Sector, and it was unlike any other signal ever detected. It wasn't just a random transmission. It was a message, a call for help, sent out by someone or something from the heart of the unknown. This was a discovery that would change everything. The message was clear and precise, but its origin was still a mystery. It had been sent using a technology far more advanced than anything humanity possessed. It didn't take long for Earth's leaders to take notice, and Kayla was chosen to lead a team to investigate the signal's source. The mission would be dangerous. No one knew what lay ahead. The Forbidden Sector was a place where the laws of space seemed to break down. Stars flickered in odd patterns, and strange gravitational forces twisted the very fabric of space-time. Many believed it was a cursed place, a region of space where no one should go. But the promise of uncovering an ancient secret that could change the course of history was too great to ignore. Kayla gathered a crew of elite explorers, each chosen for their skills in different areas of expertise. Together they would venture into the unknown, navigating through the chaos of the Forbidden Sector. Their ship, the Orion's Hope, was equipped with the latest technology to withstand the harsh conditions they would face. It was a vessel unlike any other, designed to push the boundaries of human exploration. As the Orion's Hope made its way into the dark heart of the Forbidden Sector, the crew began to notice strange things happening. The stars around them blinked in unusual patterns, and their ship's systems would intermittently malfunction, as if the sector itself was alive and resisting their presence. Despite the growing sense of unease, Kayla and her team pressed forward, determined to uncover the truth. Days passed, and the crew grew more restless. The strange phenomena continued, but there was no turning back now. Their destination was a planet located near the center of the sector, a world that had been marked on ancient star maps, but had never been visited by any known civilization. According to the data from the intercepted signal, this planet was where they would find the answers they were seeking. Upon landing, the crew was immediately struck by the eerie silence that enveloped the planet. There was no wind, no movement, just the stillness of an ancient world that had long been forgotten. The landscape was barren, with jagged mountains and deep valleys, the remains of a once thriving civilization. It was a haunting sight, but Kayla's curiosity drove her forward. The team began to explore the ruins, their footsteps echoing across the desolate land. They found structures unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Massive stone buildings covered in intricate carvings and alien symbols. The architecture was both beautiful and terrifying, as if it had been designed to inspire awe and fear in equal measure. As they ventured deeper into the ruins, Kayla stumbled upon something extraordinary. Hidden beneath the surface, buried deep within the planet's crust, was an artifact, an ancient relic that seemed to pulse with energy. It was a crystal unlike anything she had ever encountered before. It shimmered with a soft, otherworldly glow, and as Kayla touched it, she felt a sudden surge of knowledge flood her mind. The information was overwhelming. Alien symbols, patterns, and concepts that her brain struggled to comprehend. But then, amidst the flood of information, she understood. This was a message from the past, a warning about the alien queens, beings of immense power and intelligence who once ruled this part of the galaxy. The message was not just a call for help. It was a plea for humanity to avoid the mistakes of the past. The alien queens had mastered technologies that could alter the fabric of reality itself. They had the power to manipulate time, space, and matter, but this power had come at a cost. The queens had disappeared from the galaxy, leaving behind only fragments of their civilization. And now, it seemed, their legacy was about to be unlocked once again. Kayla knew that she was standing on the edge of a discovery that could rewrite everything humanity knew about the universe. But as the team gathered around her, eager to learn more, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. Something ancient and powerful, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. The Forbidden Sector had revealed its first secret, but Kayla knew that this was only the beginning. The journey ahead would be more dangerous than she could ever have imagined, and the truth they uncovered might not be something humanity was ready to face. The discovery of the artifact was only the beginning. After Kayla's team found the glowing crystal, they returned to the ship, eager to analyze the findings. As they carefully examined the artifact, the crew could feel a growing sense of urgency. The strange symbols and patterns embedded in the crystal seemed to reveal more than they could understand, as though it held the key to something much larger, something beyond their reach. The artifact wasn't just a relic. It was a message, one that had been waiting for centuries to be unlocked. Kayla spent countless hours studying the data, her mind racing with the possibilities of what they had uncovered. The alien queens had been a mystery for as long as humanity had existed, and now it seemed that they were about to learn the truth. The more Kayla dug into the ancient writings, the clearer it became that the alien queens were not simply rulers of a forgotten empire. They were powerful beings who had mastered the forces of nature itself. Time, space, and even the very fabric of reality. Their civilization had been built upon knowledge that seemed impossible to comprehend, and the artifact Kayla had discovered appeared to be a remnant of their incredible advancements. However, with this discovery came danger. The message from the artifact was not just a record of the past, it was a warning. Kayla's team began to understand that the alien queen's downfall had been caused by their own power. The knowledge they had uncovered was not meant for ordinary beings, and the consequences of unlocking such power could be catastrophic. As Kayla and her team continued to decode the symbols and gain more insight into the history of the alien queens, they realized that they were not alone. The signal they had intercepted wasn't a random transmission. It was a distress call sent out from the heart of the Forbidden Sector. But who had sent it? And why had it been left for humanity to find? Days passed as the team worked tirelessly, but strange things began to happen. Amore, crew members started to experience vivid dreams, visions of ancient worlds and strange creatures. Some saw glimpses of the alien queens themselves. Powerful, majestic beings whose presence seemed to reach out from the past and into their minds. The visions were disturbing, yet beautiful, as if the queens were beckoning them toward something far greater than they could understand. Kayla herself was not immune to these dreams. She found herself constantly thinking about the alien queens, their power, and their legacy. The more she learned, the more she felt a strange connection to them, as though their thoughts were seeping into her own. She could hear their whispers in the quiet moments, and sometimes, in her dreams, she could feel their presence guiding her towards something important. But the more she discovered, the more the team realized the risk they were taking. The Forbidden Sector was a place where the laws of physics seemed to break down. The further they ventured into its depths, the stranger things became. The ship's sensors began to malfunction, and their communication systems grew unreliable. It felt as though the very fabric of space was being warped around them, making it harder to tell what was real and what wasn't. One evening, as the crew gathered in the ship's command center, Kayla made a startling discovery. Hidden in the crystal's patterns was a map that led to the heart of the Forbidden Sector, to a planet that had been untouched by civilization for millennia. The planet was where the final secrets of the alien queens lay buried, and it was here that the team would find the answers to the questions that had haunted them since they began their journey. But there was a catch. The map was incomplete, fragmented. Some parts of it were obscured, hidden by the very forces that had destroyed the alien queen's empire. Whatever they were about to find on this planet could change the future of humanity, but it could also be a trap, a way for the queen's power to corrupt those who dared to unlock it. Kayla had no choice but to follow the map. Her curiosity and drive to uncover the truth outweighed her growing fears. The crew prepared to make their way to the planet, but the closer they got, the more they realized they were being watched. Something was waiting for them, something ancient and powerful. As the Orion's Hope entered the planet's atmosphere, the ship was shaken by a violent force, as though the very planet itself was reacting to their arrival. The crew fought to maintain control, their hearts racing as they plunged toward the surface. It was clear that the planet was not just a place of ancient ruins. It was alive, filled with the remnants of the alien queen's legacy, and it did not want them there. The landing was rough and the ship's systems were damaged upon impact. The crew had no choice but to venture out into the desolate landscape, where the ruins of an ancient city lay waiting. The air was thin, and the ground beneath them cracked and unstable. Massive structures, half buried in the sands of time, loomed ahead, their purpose long forgotten. As Kayla led her team through the ruins, they encountered symbols and markings that seemed to come alive in their presence, as though the very walls were watching them. It was clear that the alien queen's technology was far more advanced than anything humanity had ever encountered. But this technology was not meant to be understood by just anyone. It was too powerful, too dangerous. In the center of the city, they found what they had been searching for, an enormous structure, buried deep within the heart of the ruins. It was here that Kayla believed the final secrets of the alien queens were hidden. But as they approached, a strange force seemed to rise from the ground, an invisible wall of energy that pushed them back. Kayla knew they were not alone. The queens, or what remained of them, were still watching, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. And she realized that they were about to uncover something that could change everything. But at what cost? As Kayla and her team stood before the massive structure buried deep within the ruins, an overwhelming sense of awe filled them. The building was like nothing they had ever seen before. Its surface was smooth, almost metallic, and etched with symbols that seemed to shift and change with every glance. It was clear that this was no ordinary structure. It was a part of the alien queen's forgotten empire, a place where unimaginable power and ancient knowledge lay hidden. The force field surrounding the structure was unlike anything they had encountered so far. It shimmered with a soft glow, as if alive, protecting whatever lay inside. The closer they got, the more the air seemed to thrum with energy, and the team could feel the weight of history pressing down on them. Kayla knew they had to enter. The artifact they had uncovered, along with the strange visions and dreams, had all led them here. This was the heart of the Forbidden Sector, the place where the final secrets of the alien queens were hidden. It was the key to understanding their rise and fall, and possibly their ultimate disappearance. Despite the growing sense of danger, Kayla pushed forward, her mind focused on what lay ahead. She knew that the knowledge they were about to uncover could change the fate of humanity, but she also understood the risks. The alien queens had wielded immense power, and it was clear that their downfall had been a result of their attempt to control forces beyond their understanding. The team worked together, carefully studying the energy barrier that surrounded the structure. They tried every method they could think of to disable it, using the ship's advanced technology, attempting to decipher the symbols, and even trying to interact with the barrier directly. But nothing worked. The barrier remained strong, as though it were impenetrable to all outside forces. Then, as they stood there, uncertain of what to do next, something unexpected happened. A soft hum filled the air, and the ground beneath them seemed to vibrate. Kayla felt the sudden pull, as if the structure was calling to her, urging her to come closer. Without thinking, she stepped forward, and to her amazement, the barrier began to dissolve, as if it were recognizing her presence. It was clear now that this was no ordinary technology. The barrier had been waiting for her, or perhaps for someone like her. Kayla's connection to the alien queens, the strange dreams, and the overwhelming feeling of being drawn to this place all seemed to be part of a larger, cosmic plan. The moment she crossed the threshold, she felt a surge of energy course through her body, and for a brief instant, everything around her went dark. When her vision returned, she found herself standing inside the structure. The team followed closely behind her, their eyes wide with disbelief. The interior was vast, filled with floating light orbs that illuminated the space with a soft, otherworldly glow. The walls were covered in intricate carvings, and strange alien devices hummed softly in the corners of the room. It was unlike any place they had ever seen, a perfect blend of organic and technological design, as though the structure itself was alive. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and atop it was a crystal. It pulsed with energy, its surface glowing in rhythmic waves. Kayla's heart raced as she stepped forward, feeling a deep connection to the crystal. She could feel the power within it, the ancient knowledge that had been preserved for centuries, waiting to be unlocked. As her hand hovered over the crystal, a voice echoed in her mind. It was not a voice in the traditional sense, but rather a presence, a consciousness that seemed to be speaking directly to her. The voice was calm and gentle, but there was an undeniable weight to it, as though it carried the wisdom of an entire civilization. "You have come, Kayla Voss," the voice said. "You seek the knowledge of the alien queens. You seek to understand the power that once shaped the galaxy. But be warned, knowledge is both a gift and a curse. What you uncover here may change the future, but it will also change you."
Kayla stood frozen, her hand still hovering over the crystal.
The voice continued, its words reverberating through her mind. The alien queens were not mere rulers. They were keepers of the universe's secrets. They mastered the forces of time, space, and reality itself. But their power came with a price. They sought to control what could not be controlled, and in doing so, they doomed themselves. The voice paused, and Kayla felt a sudden wave of sorrow wash over her. It was as if the voice was mourning the loss of the queens, their civilization, and the consequences of their ambition.
"Now, the knowledge you seek lies within the crystal.
But remember, the power it contains is not meant for any one being. To wield it is to risk everything. The fate of the galaxy will be decided by the choices you make." Kayla's mind raced. What should she do? She had come this far, but was she ready to uncover the truth? The weight of the voice's warning hung heavy on her, and she knew that the decision she made here would change everything. The team stood in silence, watching her closely. They had come for the same reason, to understand the alien civilization and its power, but none of them knew the true cost of what they were about to unleash. Kayla took a deep breath and reached out to touch the crystal. As her fingers made contact, a surge of energy flooded her mind. The world around her seemed to melt away, and for a brief moment she saw flashes of the past, visions of the alien queens, their rise to power and their eventual fall. She saw the destruction they had caused, the forces they had unleashed, and the devastation that had followed. But she also saw hope. She saw a new path, a way for humanity to rise above its own limitations and harness the power of the universe for good. The knowledge was within her reach, but it would come at a cost. Would she be able to control it, or would she become like the alien queens, lost to their own ambitions? As the vision faded, Kayla knew one thing for certain. The journey was far from over. The choices she made now would shape the future of humanity and the galaxy itself. Kayla stood frozen, her fingers still touching the glowing crystal. The surge of energy that had rushed through her moments ago now faded into a quiet hum, leaving her with a heavy sense of responsibility. The knowledge of the alien queens, so vast, so powerful, was now within her reach. She could feel the whispers of their past, the weight of their choices, and the consequences of their ambition. It was as though their history had become part of her own, and she couldn't escape it. The others were watching her, waiting. The air was thick with tension. Kayla turned to look at her crew, their faces filled with a mixture of awe and fear. They had all come seeking answers, but now the truth lay before them, and none of them could predict what it would mean for their future. Kayla took a deep breath, pushing aside the storm of thoughts swirling in her mind. She stepped back from the crystal, feeling the energy inside her pulse with every breath. Her heart raced, but her thoughts were clearer than ever. The visions had shown her the rise and fall of the alien queens, their mastery over the universe, and their ultimate demise. They had sought control over everything, time, space, even life itself, and it had destroyed them. The knowledge they had gained had been their undoing, but there was another truth buried within the crystal, one that had not been revealed in the visions. The voice, an ancient presence that had spoken to Kayla, had warned her about the power contained in the crystal. It was not meant for one person to wield. Yet, the voice had also suggested there might be another way, a path forward that humanity could take. Could she find that path, or would she become like the queens, lost to her own desires? Kayla knew the decision ahead of her would shape the future. The power of the crystal was tempting, but so were the dangers that came with it. If they chose to embrace this knowledge, it could lift humanity to heights they had never dreamed of. But at what cost? The Queen's downfall had been the result of their ambition to control forces beyond their understanding, and she didn't know if humanity could avoid the same fate. Her thoughts were interrupted when one of the crew members, Lieutenant Jackson, stepped forward. He had been unusually quiet since the crystal was discovered, his face a mixture of fear and curiosity. His voice, when he spoke, was hesitant. "Kayla," he said softly, "what now? What do we do with this?" He motioned toward the crystal, its glow pulsing softly in the dim light of the chamber. "The knowledge, it's so powerful. Can we control it? Will it control us?" Kayla didn't answer right away. She had no clear answer, and the weight of his question was heavier than she had expected. Jackson's voice held fear, but also a glimmer of hope. He wasn't sure if the power within the crystal could be trusted, but like her, he was drawn to it, unable to resist the pull of what lay inside. "I don't know," Kayla said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. "But I have to try." The others exchanged uneasy glances, but no one spoke. They all felt the same tension, the uncertainty that now hung over them. They had come this far, but none of them had expected to be standing at the crossroads of such a monumental decision. The fate of the galaxy, of humanity, could depend on what they chose next. With a deep breath, Kayla stepped closer to the crystal again. She felt its pull, the immense power just beyond her reach. Her hand hovered above it, but this time she didn't touch it. Instead, she closed her eyes and focused, trying to understand what the crystal was offering her. The voice had told her that the power was not meant for any one person, and she felt that truth in her very bones. The more she thought, the more she realized that she didn't need to control it. The knowledge didn't belong to her. It belonged to the galaxy. It was meant to be shared, to help humanity evolve without the temptation of absolute control. If she could find a way to use it responsibly, to unlock its potential for good, then perhaps they could avoid the same fate as the queens. But if she fell to the temptation of using it for personal gain, the consequences would be far-reaching, just as the queens had discovered. Kayla opened her eyes and turned to face her crew. The weight of her decision still hung in the air, but she now knew what needed to be done.
"We can't keep this to ourselves," she said firmly. "This knowledge, it's meant to be shared."
But we have to be careful. We have to find a way to use it without losing ourselves to it. Her words seemed to hang in the air, and for a moment, there was complete silence. The others looked at each other, their faces filled with doubt and wonder. But in that silence, something shifted. The tension began to ease, replaced by a quiet understanding. They all knew that the road ahead would be difficult, and the challenges would be immense, but they were in this together. Jackson nodded, the fear in his eyes replaced with resolve.
We're with you, Kayla. We'll figure it out.
Together. The rest of the crew agreed, each of them nodding in unison. They had come here for answers, but now they understood that the answers weren't simple. The journey ahead would require more than just discovering the secrets of the alien queens. It would require wisdom, patience, and trust. They would have to work together to harness the power of the crystal, using it to guide humanity toward a future that wasn't ruled by the same mistakes of the past. As Kayla and her team made their decision, the structure around them seemed to respond. The light orbs flickered, and the hum of energy grew louder. It was as if the ancient presence that had spoken to them earlier was watching, waiting. Kayla could feel its gaze, but this time, it wasn't a warning. It was approval, as if the structure itself had recognized that they were ready. They didn't have all the answers, but they had each other, and that, Kayla realized, was the most important thing. The future of humanity was uncertain, but it was no longer bound by the past. Together, they would rewrite the story of the galaxy.